All right. Let's see that this is a little okay. It cleared up. Um, so I have to spew these thoughts now because I don't want to lose them into the abyss um, while they're still fresh and while it's still uh, kind of going in my head. Some of you know my question that I proposed, which was, what is a human relationship? And immediately as uh, I started taking Cadell's class on Hegel, um, that phrase, the attempt to begin again, that specific statement, the attempt to begin again, that I felt was exactly what this question is, what this question is to its core. Um, the attempt to begin again, because already we are so historically immersed in human relationships with anything involving the human subject, whether it be animals, environment, so on, that to begin again would be to go back to this question, to ask this question: what is a human relationship? The only thing that I can do to tackle this question in some way is to look at what we have right now, uh, and not and not go outside my bounds here, but to look at what I have right now. And what we have right now is, uh, culturally, we have I would say, in terms of intimacy, culturally, we have a culture that is set upon toxicity, meaning they avoid anything that they deem as toxic. Why is this dangerous? Is because I feel like it's exaggerated. I feel that it's exaggerated and it avoids ultimately reconciliation. Um, this brings us back to religion again. What was the structure that and I will only speak for the Abrahamic religions because I know a good, I would say I know an above average amount concerning Islamic religion in comparison to average people. And um, I know probably, again, probably the same amount for Christianity. Uh, so, what I understand from the Abrahamic religions concerning Islam and Christianity is that there was, at least in the religious scriptures, there were at least verses that would allude to a sort of forced reconciliation. I wouldn't say necessarily forced, but a strongly suggested reconciliation concerning your intimate relationships. But with the advancement of technology, we have Tinder, we have Bumble, we Harmony, we have um, all these mediums, Instagram, Twitter. Uh, no longer do you have to reconcile. No longer do you have to suggest uh, reconciliation. Uh, and I think a lot of people take the way out of it. If it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. Um, but I think also, to kind of complexify the idea of reconciliation. I mean, a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, would be like, well, of course. I mean, If we're struggling in our relationship and we love each other, of course we're going to try to reconcile. What are you saying that's different? Um, well, here's the different part. Here's the different part. Here's perhaps the most difficult part. Uh, the art of reconciling what you cannot reconcile. This, I feel, must be, I mean, I don't know, it's a hunch. This, I feel, right here must be one of the stepping stones, or to use maybe a Hegelian language, a thought phase for how to answer what is a human relationship. The idea that we must attempt to reconcile what we cannot reconcile. And this goes back to my previous videos where I talk about learning to be in difference, right? That be in difference, um, be inside the difference itself, and find uh, a qualitative uh, enjoyment out of that. Um, and this is, and again, this is why I feel like the idea about um, to learning to stay with what is cannot be reconciled is already an effort made towards reconciliation as such. And I feel like this is lost within our, at least within the culture that I see, within the culture that I experience, within the people that I talk to, within my own experiences. I feel that this is exactly that. And then it also goes back to the idea of helplessness as well. Um, so the I and but why does um, the effort to reconcile what cannot be reconciled is such a maybe a foundational brick in this question of what is a human relationship? I think because it goes back to the attempt to begin again. I think that is what ultimately tries. The other issue is that when we attempt to reconcile, we want the same origin, or like uh, the same. Uh, I don't even know how to phrase it for people. The same feeling, right? The same qualitative feeling that you both experienced when you uh, fell in love with each other, or when you first met each other, right? Um, the part that we can't reconcile is that it changed. It changed, and it bothers us so much that we just want to go back to it. And that's what we and that's and to me that's the problem. That's the part we try to reconcile, right? We try to go back to that sameness, to that same feeling that we once had when we met each other. Or, or maybe you discovered something new about your partner that now you can't see them the way that you previously saw them. So now you have to reconcile that. But the thing is, when you think about reconciling, you think about, I want to go back. How do we go back to this? How do we go back to this? Because this is when it was good. This is when we were happy. This is when everything was right. Um, no, no, that's a big no. um, It's a big no. And so the attempt to reconcile what you cannot reconcile is, I think, again, like I said already, is the foundational stone to begin to answer this question of what is a human relationship. What is a human relationship? And I think, and when Adam Phillips brings up the notion of helplessness with his interpretation of Freud, I still think it's very adequate on this. I think it's very adequate on the same level. I think it's probably the same. Uh, we don't know how to deal. We don't know how to reconcile helplessness. It's ultimately because we want to solve helplessness. Um, but the idea is to help you have a new qualitative experience with helplessness. And so, what I'm trying to say with what is the question of what is a human relationship, I think it would boil down to how do we have a qualitative experience? How can we have a new qualitative experience today? And only today, I only want to talk about the issues as it stands now. How do we have a new qualitative experience today um, with relationships, with intimate relationships, with friendships, with family, with um, things, people, environment, so on? How do we have a different qualitative experience with these things, which are things that cannot, issues, problems, lacks, whatever you want to call them, that cannot be reconciled? Um, and I think perhaps that is a beginning, and it's going to take for me it's probably going to take I'm going to have to take a look at um, there's a lot of questions that um, there's a lot of examples of our society today about you know I guess if I want to go back to the the, the historical bringing up of religion and how it kind of brought about a suggested reconciliation of some sort. The question that I would propose it would be a subsequent question, but I think it would ultimately help answer the question of what is a human relationship. Is how do we how do we find, how do we search, how do we embody some type of suggested reconciliation? Because as it stands, in my opinion, as it stands right now, we are a culture in deep fear of toxicity, of settling down, of difference, of, of just so many things that simply cannot be reconciled in our own psyches. Right? We find whatever situation that we're in, whether in our friendships, whether in our family, we just find that it cannot be reconciled, so we just drop it. And those are and I think there is danger in that. I don't want to go into all the specific consequences, but I think the specific consequences are the excuses that arise with everything, about everything. Um, there is a great movement within our culture today about working on yourself, as if we even know what that really means, um, as if that can ever be reconciled, um, as if that can ever be truly reconciled. And that is the part that I want people to realize. Um, all these spiritual, and let me put it this way: the people that say they are spiritual and not religious. This is probably aimed at them. But the I'm going to find myself type of statements. I'm going to take leave of my relationships and find myself. Um, there is a danger to that thinking, and it can easily become an unconscious excuse. Um, as I've definitely talked about this before, so I don't want to dive too deep into that. Um, I know I've talked about this idea of cultivating a solitude within and so on, but or like Rilke talks about, the poet Rilke, he talks about you know sort of cultivating that solitude no matter where you are. So that means would be that protecting your solitude, protecting each other's solitude. If I were to make uh, something, if I were to make, sorry, I almost dropped my phone. If I were to make uh, a reinterpretation of Rilke now, so that we can better understand what this means, um, it would be to say to protect each other's difference. How do we protect each other's difference? It reminds me of, I didn't quite listen to all of it, but I listened to a good chunk of it. Daniel and Michelle's talk on family that they recently put out, where he's like the more right concept of family would be the idea of like, I got your back, right? No matter what happens, no matter the differences, I got your back. Um, this, and I think the idea, I'm probably going to have to jot this down actually. Um, Protecting each other's difference, I think, would relate more to our times today than the idea of protecting each other's solitude, because I feel like solitude, the idea of solitude, is so stained that people misinterpret it as isolation, as distance. But if I were to really dive deep into this, I would say the distance that we're talking about is the distance. I mean, people are not wrong in thinking that, but they're just wrong in terms of looking at it externally. So if I were to define solitude for them to help them understand what that really means, is that what you are doing is you are protecting your difference. And this difference is the internal difference that you have between other people. And that's what it would be between, to protect the difference. Um, and maybe perhaps protect is a stained word too, but for now, I think this suffices. So protecting difference. I rather use protecting difference, protecting each other's difference, rather than protecting each other's solitude, which, even though it is an attractive statement from Rilke, and I absolutely love Rilke, but in our society today, I feel like this would be, it leaves too much room for misinterpretation. But protecting our differences, um, this I think can lead to a practical walking stone to tackle this question, to begin again about what is a human relationship. What is a human relationship? Um, and I have to jot protecting difference down because I think I really like that. I really like that idea. Um, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of contemporary problems, but we can. I think a lot of these problems later on will, how this will go back to how do we tackle, um, men's position in the world. Because ultimately, I think men are very lost, um, right now. And I think I only need to cite one example. And the proof of that is Jordan Peterson. The very existence of Jordan Peterson is the proof that men are lost. Whether you look at that, and you can see it either or. You can see that as Jordan Peterson is the cause of such, or Jordan Peterson is the not the cause of such, but the result of such. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can view it either way. Either way, it asserts this. Um, because a lot of people do look at Jordan Peterson as some type of father figure, some type of guidance, some type of role, some type of structure, whether we agree or disagree with the views, it's still in its essence, in its error, if we even want to call it an error or not, it doesn't matter. I try to stay away from being Jordan Peterson-y, like make your bed, but I'd rather make a bagel first. uh, but or if I was Hegelian, I would say I'd rather go to the bathroom first. I think some people will get that inside joke. So, anyways, there's lots of room here. There's lots of room, but the idea of attempting to begin again, protecting difference. These are some of the ideas that are already the other thing, like I brought up before, right? To reconcile what cannot be reconciled is must be the starting point. I think. I don't know, but I have to think more about this. But I feel like it is the right step in learning how to protect our difference. And how can we translate that into our human relationships now? How can we begin this way? I can't like I can't speak for the future. I can only look at what is going on right now. And I think right now, what is a human relationship is a very important question. It's a very important question. Um, and the other thing was how do we emphasize, how do we suggest reconciliation in a better way? I think I know I brought that up already, but I'm just writing this for myself, for my thoughts. Um, okay, but anyways, that's enough from me. Um, my camera is having a breakdown. It's how to picture me, but that's it. I think, yeah. I always, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, or you have a specific reflection that popped up, feel free to comment or whatever. I think that's always great, and I always appreciate that. And um, recently, people have been reaching out to me, and I'm always grateful to. Um, I'm very grateful for. Honestly, I'm very grateful for the audience that this channel attracts. I think that is probably what is most impressive, is that this channel attracts people that um, have been so useful to me, and so pivotal in my thinking and my experiences. I am honestly so grateful. I cannot express more. I did not think I would become like a YouTuber in a sense. I did not think that this would become a thing. I did not think I would be so dedicated. And I also think like uh, I also think like, if I never become a known thinker as such or anything, um, I think the videos, the content that I make will definitely make someone as such. It will push someone out there. I know it. I know it, and I believe in it. Um, that it will reach somehow, and whether it actually be me, I don't know, but I do believe that it will resonate with somebody, and it will reach out there. Um, but again, for the most part, I like to work in the dark, obviously, and just pursue and talk to you guys. Okay, so that's enough, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday, and well, let's see what else we can come up with to answer this question.